So we are at the official launch of Triumph's new 400cc motorcycles that have just been launched in India. Not the Scrambler, but only the Speed 400 has been launched, and it has been priced unbelievably. So it has been priced at rupees 2.23 lakh for the first 10,000 customers, and after that it will be priced at rupees 2.33 lakh ex-showroom. So what's the catch here basically? Why have they priced it so aggressively, so competitively? We'll look at that towards the end of the video, but before that, let me quickly give you a full walk around of the motorcycle, what all it gets, what all it has on offer for the pricing that you are paying. So starting with the design, now this is a proper modern classic styling. It is inspired by the Speed 900 and 1200, specifically the Speed 1200, because as you can see, the color scheme on the fuel tank looks more like the Speed 1200, but it is a very nice looking motorcycle in my honest opinion. But you let us know in the comment section, what do you think about the design. So it gets this circular teardrop shaped fuel tank, it gets this triangular center panels, it gets these very nice looking golden upside down forks at the front, and these brushed aluminum finish handlebar. There are these nice LED headlamp with this brushed aluminum headlamp knuckle, and the front fender. Now, contrary to the design of the motorcycle, which is retro inspired, you get properly modern features. So starting with the instrument cluster, you get a semi-digital instrument cluster. There is this round analog speedometer along with a tiny LCD console which shows you all the crucial information. So it gives you all the information, but we believe it should have had maybe PFT instrument cluster, but that's okay. It also gets full LED lighting system and assistant slipper clutch. It gets traction control system and dual channel ABS. Now moving on to the engine. So it is powered by a 398cc single cylinder liquid cooled engine, and if you look at the bore and stroke figures, so it is a shorter stroke motor, so similar to the KTM 390 Dukes. It should be high revving, high performance, and maybe more peaky kind of character. Talking about the power and torque output numbers, it makes 39.5 bhp and 37.5 newton meters of peak torque. Comes mated to a 6-speed gearbox, and about as for the our riding impressions about the engine, will tell you that only after the first ride review is out on our channel. Now moving on to the hardware. So it rides on 17-inch alloy wheels front and back, as against the Scrambler, which gets a 19-inch alloy wheel at the front. Now suspension, you get 43 upside down forks at the front. There is no adjustability on the front, but at the rear you get a monoshock which gets preload adjustability. Braking duties are handled by single disc at both ends, but in typical retro Triumph fashion, the disc has been moved on the left side while the chain drive has been moved on the right. So why do you think the chain drive has been moved on the right side? The main reason for that is because the old school, the initial Triumph motorcycles in the 2000 or before that, they used to get the chain drive on the right side, and it is a reminiscent to those older motorcycles. There is another thing that reminisces the older Triumph, and these are these tank recesses. And there is one more question that had been popping in my mind, is why these tank indents on the front? Because they would have actually moved the tank back, but the main reason for that is because they didn't want to compromise the turning radius because of the fuel tank. Otherwise it would have, the USD forks would have touched the fuel tank, but also they couldn't move the tank at the back because they didn't want to expose the front section of the chassis. Now let's move on to the ergonomics of the Speed 400. At 790 the seat height is pretty accessible, at least for me. At 5 feet 11 inches, I can easily hop on the motorcycle. I'm sure even riders who are shorter than me will be able to get on the bike pretty easily. And the foot peg are, you can say, centrally set, and the handlebar is within your easy reach. So it offers overall a very upright and neutral riding stance. So I believe you should be able to tour on that motorcycle, but we can only tell you that once we ride the motorcycle over longer distances. Now let's listen to the Speed 400's exhaust note. Now this was all about the Triumph Speed 400. Now we'll move on to its Scrambler sibling, the Scrambler 400X, and tell you what all it offers. Now this is the Scrambler sibling of the Speed 400, and as you can see, there are multiple changes when it comes to the overall design of the motorcycle, starting with the fuel tank. So the fuel tank is same teardrop shaped tank, but there are these knee grips on the fuel tank, and you get these knuckle guards. The handlebar is also different to give you a different ergonomics, but we'll talk about that later. And you get this headlamp cage, which comes as an accessory, and this 19-inch front wheel as against the 17-inch alloy wheels on the Speed, this gives it a more commanding, a more imposing stance to the overall motorcycle. And also on this side, if we can show this side, it gets dual port exhaust, which again gives it a proper quintessential old school Triumph Scrambler appeal. Now, moving on to the features, it gets almost the same kind of features as the Speed 400. So you get full LED lighting, semi-digital instrument cluster, traction control, ride-by-wire throttle, assist and slipper clutch. But there's one addition, and that comes in the form of switchable ABS. So the ABS can be turned off for the rear wheel, and since this is Scrambler, that will allow you to slide the motorcycle around trails. That just adds more to the fun factor of the Scrambler. The engine remains the same. It continues to get a 398cc single cylinder liquid cooled, and the specs I've already told you: 39.5 bhp, 37.5 newton meters of peak torque, same 6-speed gearbox, but there are substantial difference in terms of dimensions and hardware of the motorcycle. As I've already told you, 19-inch larger front wheel at the front. While the suspension hardware, upside down forks and monoshock remain the same, the suspension travel is more. Here you get 150 mm at the front as well as at the back, whereas on the Speed 400 you get 140 mm and 130 mm at the front and back respectively. Even the disc brake size is larger. You get 320 mm disc on this motorcycle, whereas on the Speed 400 you get slightly smaller disc brakes. Now moving on to the seating ergonomics of the Scrambler 400. At 835 mm, this seat height is taller than the Speed 400, and that is because of the larger front wheel and longer travel suspension. So 835 mm for me, it's not really tall. I'm 5 feet 11 inches, but because the seat is narrow, the fuel tank tapers towards the rear. Even for shorter riders, it should be easier for them to get their feet on the ground. As you can see, I'm not flat footing, but I'm tiptoeing of sorts. So shorter riders might be like this, but it should be manageable for them as well. But when once you get in the seating position, you realize that the Scrambler offers you a more commanding and more imposing riding position. That's mainly because of this wider handlebar. The handlebar is pulled more towards you. You can see these sort of risers which are much taller as compared to the Speed 400, and the foot pegs are also at the front, slightly at the front as compared to the Speed 400. And this should help you to actually stand on the motorcycle if you want to go off-roading. As you can see, I can properly grip the fuel tank, and I don't really need to bend down too much, and I can comfortably stand on the bike. So that should help the off-road enthusiast in riding through trails more comfortably. Now let's listen to what this 398cc engine sounds like. Now on to the main question that we asked in the initial part of the video: why the Speed 400 is priced so aggressively, 2.33 or 2.23 lakh for the first 10,000 customer? Where is Triumph cutting corners? What the catch is? So from where we can see there's no catch, because on the face of it, we have not ridden the motorcycle, but on the face of it, this is a properly international spec model. This is just the same motorcycle that you get in the global international markets, except for the tires, which the international model gets Metzlers, and these get MRF Zoom Cruise, whereas the Speed 400 gets Apollo Alphas. Apart from that, there is no difference. This motorcycle is exactly the same as the international spec trims. So the reason for pricing it so affordably is, we believe, is because Triumph is getting into the affordable spectrum now, and they want to target at the younger buyers, the fresh and beginner riders. So maybe that's why Triumph has priced the motorcycle so aggressively. There can't be any other reason. And so the price, obviously Speed 400 is smashing, it's outstanding. But what do you think, how much will Triumph price the Scrambler 400X? We believe it should be around 2.5 lakh ex showroom, at least the introductory pricing. Maybe later they'll increase it, but roughly 20,000 more than the Speed 400. That's what our guess is. What do you think of this video, and what do you think of both these motorcycles? Let us know in the comment section.